Have you ever wondered what it really takes to live past 100? I'm not talking about just existing, getting by day to day, dragging yourself through aches and pills and more doctors than you can count. I'm talking about thriving into your 90s, hundreds, and even beyond, with clarity in your mind, energy in your body, and peace in your heart. It sounds like a dream, doesn't it? But for some people, it's a very real reality. Now, I know the world today is obsessed with youth, anti-aging creams, endless diets, miracle supplements. But if you sit down with someone who's actually crossed the 100-year mark, you'll quickly realize they weren't chasing youth. They were living with intention. They were doing small things consistently that paid off in a big way. And the best part, you can start those same habits today, right now, no matter your age. In this video, we're diving into 5 powerful longevity secrets from real people who lived well past 100. These aren't complicated or expensive routines. They're simple, sustainable ways of living that help these individuals enjoy long, healthy, meaningful lives. And if they could do it, so can you. Let's begin with something almost every centenarian mentions when asked about the secret to their long life. They keep moving, not in a frantic, I have to burn calories kind of way, but in a steady, purposeful rhythm that keeps their bodies in motion throughout the day. Whether it was tending to a small garden, walking to the market, or stretching each morning before the sun came up, they made movement a natural part of their life. And that's a big difference from how many people think of exercise. You don't have to lift weights or do jumping jacks at 70 or 80 years old, but your body craves movement. It wants to stretch, to walk, to bend, to breathe deeply. When you stay physically active, even just lightly, you maintain your balance, circulation, and flexibility. That means fewer falls, better sleep, and more energy. It also means you're keeping your muscles strong enough to remain independent, which is one of the biggest factors in aging well. I once heard a story about a woman in her early 100s who walked to church every Sunday, no matter the weather. Not because she had to, but because it brought her peace, and she knew it kept her body alive. That kind of gentle determination, that habit of movement, isn't about exercise, it's about life. But what fuels that movement? That leads us to another deeply important secret: eating simply and naturally. Nearly every person who lived to 100 and thrived had one thing in common when it came to food. They ate close to the earth. You didn't see them living off of processed snacks or microwave dinners. Their plates were filled with fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and small amounts of lean proteins. Not necessarily because they were on a health kick, but because that's how they grew up and how they continued to live. There's something powerful about eating foods that your great-grandparents would recognize. A warm bowl of lentils, fresh greens dressed with olive oil, and a little lemon, a handful of berries, or a piece of fish cooked simply without a dozen additives. These foods don't just nourish your body, they reduce inflammation, support digestion, and keep your heart and brain functioning as they should. I remember reading about a man who lived to be 107. Every morning he'd eat the same breakfast, a small bowl of oatmeal with nuts and a few raisins, followed by a cup of green tea. Nothing fancy, but he credited that routine with keeping him sharp and regular for decades. The point isn't to copy someone else's meal, it's to simplify, to strip away the unnecessary, and focus on food that gives life, not just flavor. And speaking of flavor, let's not forget one of the most underrated secrets of longevity: joy. Yes, joy. A surprising number of people who live past 100 report that they laugh often, enjoy small moments, and choose to focus on the positive, even when life throws them its hardest punches. That's not luck. That's a mindset. I once met a woman who was 103. Her hands were worn from years of work, her vision was dim, and she moved slowly, but she had the most radiant smile I'd ever seen. When I asked her what made her so happy, she said, "Every morning I wake up, I thank the Lord I can still breathe, and every night I go to bed, I thank Him again." She had a grateful heart, and that, more than anything, seemed to keep her young. You don't need a perfect life to feel joy, you just need to pay attention. Notice the way your grandchild laughs. Listen to your favorite music. Watch the sky change colors in the evening. These moments matter. They reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and give your immune system a boost. But more than that, they give your life richness, meaning, that spark that keeps you going. So we've talked about movement, simple food, and joy, and already you can start to see a pattern. These people weren't chasing youth. They were living fully, consistently, with intention and gratitude. And they weren't waiting for the right time. They just started, right where they were, with what they had. Now that we've explored how purposeful movement, nourishing food, and a joyful heart can help you live not just longer, but better, let's keep going. Because the next secrets reveal even more about how these remarkable people made it to 100 and beyond, and what you can learn from them starting today. Let's keep going, because what we're about to talk about next might be one of the most surprising secrets of all, and yet it's something that shows up again and again in the lives of those who reach 100 with a smile on their face and purpose in their step. It's staying connected. Now, I know that can feel complicated, especially as we get older. People move, families grow apart, friends pass on, and suddenly that once busy phone barely rings anymore. But here's the truth. Human connection isn't just a luxury. It's a life-extending necessity, and the people who live the longest almost always have a tight-knit community around them. It doesn't have to be huge. In fact, for many of them, it was small, but it was meaningful. You see, connection protects us in ways medicine can't. It boosts our mood, keeps our minds active, and reminds us that we matter. When you laugh with someone, share a meal, or simply sit in silence with someone who understands you, something happens inside. It's like your soul exhales. Your body releases less stress hormone. Your heart rate settles. Your brain, even if aging, stays more engaged and responsive. There's a little village in Okinawa, Japan, where more people live to be over 100 than almost anywhere else on Earth. And one thing they do, they form what's called a moai, a small social group that commits to supporting each other throughout life. If someone's sick, they check in. If someone's lonely, they visit. If someone has something to celebrate, they all show up. It's not formal, it's not forced. It's just woven into the fabric of their lives. That kind of emotional safety net gives people a reason to get up in the morning, a reason to keep going, a reason to care for themselves because someone else cares about them. And even if you feel alone right now, that doesn't mean connection is out of reach. Sometimes it starts with something as small as saying hello to your neighbor, joining a local walking group, volunteering once a week at a food pantry or church, calling an old friend and leaving a voicemail that simply says, "I've been thinking about you." It may feel awkward at first, vulnerable even, but those tiny steps can lead to friendships that fill you up in ways you didn't even know you needed. And that leads right into the final, and perhaps most powerful, longevity secret of them all: having a reason to live. A why. Now, I'm not talking about some grand mission or big goal. I'm talking about waking up with a sense of purpose, no matter how small. The people who live to 100 and beyond often have something they look forward to each day: a responsibility, a passion, a ritual, something that gives their day meaning. One man I read about, a farmer in Italy who lived to be 102, insisted on tending to his olive trees every morning. He didn't need to. His children had long taken over the farm. But it was his purpose. It got him up and out of the house. It kept his hands strong and his spirit grounded. For someone else, it might be writing letters to their grandchildren, baking bread for their community every Sunday, caring for a pet, or simply nurturing their little patch of flowers on the balcony. These aren't chores, they're lifelines. Purpose gives your life structure. It keeps your heart hopeful. And when life throws curveballs, and it always does, purpose is what keeps you steady. If you don't know what your purpose is right now, that's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just start by asking yourself, what do I enjoy doing that helps me or someone else feel good? Maybe it's sharing your wisdom, creating something with your hands, or offering encouragement to someone going through a tough time. That small spark can become your new reason to wake up with a sense of possibility. So often we're told that after a certain age we should slow down, step back, or disappear into the background. But the people who live the longest don't listen to that noise. They stay active. They eat real food. They smile. They laugh. They stay connected. And above all, they keep living with purpose, even when it would be easier to give up. And here's something beautiful. It's never too late to start. You could be 60, 70, 80, or 90. The human body is astonishingly resilient. The heart wants to heal. The brain wants to grow. The soul wants to feel. All it takes is a few steady steps in a new direction. Now, before we move forward, just take a moment. Breathe deeply. Think about what we've talked about so far. These aren't just habits. They're invitations. Invitations to take back control of your life, to make the years ahead feel rich and joyful, no matter how many birthdays you've had. Because the truth is, living past 100 isn't about luck. It's about how you live. And right now, today, you have the power to start living in a way that brings more meaning, more connection, and more years worth remembering. Let's keep going. There's still one more piece of this puzzle to uncover. And it just might be the one that ties everything together. Let's finish strong, because the final longevity secret we're about to talk about might just be the one that quietly fuels all the others. And it's not something you'll find in a pill or a gym or even a diet. It's something that lives in your mind, in your heart, and in the way you choose to see the world. It's your attitude. You see, people who live well into their 90s and 100s almost always have a kind of mental toughness. Not the harsh, hardened kind, but the kind that bends without breaking. They don't see aging as a burden. They don't wake up defeated. They accept that life brings change, loss, and discomfort, but they meet it with a steady, peaceful kind of strength. They stay curious. They adapt. They focus on what they can do, not what they can't. And that mindset? It's not just feel-good fluff. It literally affects your biology. Optimism lowers your risk of stroke and heart disease. It boosts your immune system. It improves your sleep, reduces chronic pain, and protects your brain from cognitive decline. Researchers have even found that people who have a more hopeful outlook live longer, often by several years, compared to those who don't. I remember hearing about a woman who turned 100 and said, "Every day I wake up and tell myself, I've still got something good left in me." That's the spirit. Not because life was easy for her. She'd lost loved ones, battled illness, and lived through more than most of us can imagine. But she chose her perspective. She decided not to let bitterness or fear define her remaining years, and that choice kept her vibrant, connected, and full of life. The truth is, our attitude shapes every part of our experience. How we eat, how we move, how we connect, and whether or not we find meaning in the little things. And no one else controls that attitude but you, not your doctor, not your age, not your aches and pains. You. So if your first thought in the morning is often, "I'm too tired," or "It's too late for me," I invite you to gently challenge that. You don't have to pretend everything's perfect, but you can choose to focus on what's still possible, what's still beautiful, what's still ahead of you. Maybe it's learning something new. Maybe it's making peace with a piece of your past. Maybe it's just drinking your tea slowly, savoring the quiet, and smiling at the fact that you're still here. Now, I want you to think back on everything we've talked about. People who live to 100 and beyond don't rely on miracles. They lean into momentum. They move their bodies, not because they have to, but because it brings them life. They eat simply and naturally, not for perfection, but for balance. They laugh often. They love deeply. They stay connected and keep finding new reasons to wake up with purpose. And above all, they choose to live each day with an attitude that says, "I'm not done yet." That kind of life isn't just for them, it's for you too. And if you're wondering where to start, don't wait for the perfect plan or the perfect moment. Just choose one small thing. Take a short walk, even if it's just to the mailbox. Reach out to someone you've been meaning to call. Write down a single thing you're grateful for. Swap out one processed snack for something nourishing. Or simply pause, breathe, and remind yourself, I still have the power to change. You don't need to do it all at once. You just need to begin, because you're not too late, you're not too old, and you're certainly not invisible. You are strong, you are wise, and your best chapters may still be ahead. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one small shift you're inspired to make today? Whether it's a new habit, a fresh mindset, or a connection you want to rebuild, share it in the comments. Your story might be the spark someone else is waiting for. If this video resonated with you, please give it a like. It helps others find it too. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. We're creating a space here where experience is celebrated, growth is ongoing, and aging is something we face with purpose and pride. Also, before you go, take a look at the description below. I've included a few affiliate links to resources that support the very habits we talked about today. If you choose to use them, it helps support the channel, and I deeply appreciate that. Here's to more years, more energy, and more moments that matter. And don't click away just yet. The next video is waiting for you right here on the screen. Let's keep moving forward together.